Meet Anita. The airplane hums softly as Anita rests her head on the window, staring out at the endless stretch of clouds. The warmth of Jamaica lingers on her skin, but the dread of going back to work grips her tighter with every mile she gets closer to London. Her sister sleeps beside her, but Anita's mind cannot rest. She replays the same exhaustive thought cycle. Back to the office, back to the politics, back to clients who don't listen, to leadership who don't lead, and work that feels like she's running in place. Flipping through the in-flight magazine, a headline catches her eye. From consultant to CEO, how one woman transformed her career by betting on herself. She scans the article, captivated by the story of a woman who took a chance in leaving corporate and building her consulting firm. Same industry, same frustrations, same doubts, but rather than staying stuck, she took the leap, and now she's thriving. She reads about how it wasn't just her expertise that got her there. It was surrounding herself with the right people, a mentor, the right partners, clients who valued her work. She didn't just build a business, she built the right network to support it. A rush of emotions hit Anita. Admiration, envy, frustration. I can do that, she thinks. I should do that. She has 2 decades of experience in agile transformation and Scrum leadership. She knows how to help businesses work smarter, adapt faster, and create real impact. But every time she imagines herself stepping out on her own, a voice whispers, "What if you fail? What if you're not ready?" Her family's concerns echo in her mind. A steady job is safe, Anita. Why risk it? She closes her eyes. Safe. That word used to bring her comfort, but now it feels like a cage. She knows that she needs more than just a new idea. She needs to be around the right people. She needs a community, a network. And she needs the right strategy to make the leap. Today, I'm speaking with Kaya Stanley. Kaya is a growth strategist, CEO, and TEDx organizer who has helped transform multi-million-dollar businesses across industries. She's also the founder of the Singularity Circle, a framework designed to help high achievers expand their network, elevate their strategies, and unlock exponential growth. Kaya knows that success isn't just about strategy. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people who can open doors, help to challenge your perspectives, and offer new opportunities. And I'm excited to hear how Kaya would advise someone like Anita to break through their own barriers, to build new connections, and to finally create a business of their own that thrives. My name is Jay Abbasi, and welcome to Unstuck. Real people, real stories, real solutions. While the details are changed to protect anonymity, what you just heard is based on a true story of challenges that come up in the real world. And we discuss how to navigate these environments with practical tips to help you get unstuck and build a more fulfilling, impactful, and balanced life and career. So Kaya, we were texting, you and I, about setting up this recording, and you were telling me about how you're going to be on a boat for this recording. And right now, for anyone watching on YouTube, right, they see that you're on a boat right now. And you told me that you used to be stuck in golden handcuffs for years at a job. And now you and your husband, you split time between Reno and your yacht in Florida. It's been more fun, you found more success. Like, what was the change? Tell me about that transformation. I wanted to hear about that to kick things off.
So I started in law. I got a full ride to law school and did really, really well in law school. And I got picked up. I think I had 12 offers from the largest firms in the Midwest. And so I took one of those jobs. And right out of law school, making really, really good money, great benefits, and literally would wake up crying every time my alarm rang because I hated the job so much. It just sucked the life out of me. And I wasn't sure. I didn't even have a vision of how I could do it differently because I had just worked so hard to get this law degree. And I was like the most successful. Everyone wanted to do what I was doing. And the thought that I would quit all of that and do something completely different felt so foreign to me. But the way that life just happened, I got divorced right in my second year of being a lawyer. And I was a single mom. And I just couldn't handle how many hours my daughter was spending in daycare. And
Mm.
I just one day kind of the straw broke the camel's back. And I said, I'm just not doing this anymore. I don't care about the money. And I'm going to figure out a different way to do it. And I did.
Wow. And so what did you have to work through internally to work to overcome that? Because so many people right hear this and they feel, I think, in that cycle at
Yeah.
times and
Yeah.
wanting to break free from it. And you said, you know, the straw broke the camel's back. Like, what was the big motivating factor? What was like the thing you worked through to be able to really pursue something that most people are afraid to even take a step towards?
So it's really actually kind of funny. The thing that was the straw that broke the camel's back, I was, my daughter was the first kid at daycare, last kid picked up. I could white knuckle my way through that. I was probably clinically depressed and I white knuckled my way through that. The managing partner of the law firm came around to the offices of all the women attorneys and told us we had to wear pantyhose. That was the thing that made me say, no, I'm done. I am not having some old guy tell me I have to wear pantyhose in Michigan in 90-degree weather. This is stupid. What am I doing here? And that was it. I quit the job. And I think I've coached a lot of people since then about what I learned along the way.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake that we make is thinking that we have to know what the goal is, thinking we have to know what the next step is. Because in my wildest imagination, I could not have thought of where I ended up right away or along the way or what I do now because there's no roadmap for this. And this is one of my biggest frustrations with the self-help world. Everyone's saying, I have the key, I have the roadmap. They're all full of it. The key is in yourself. So
Yeah.
I knew what was the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me was to be able to be with my daughter, to make more money than I was making then, to be able to work from home, and to be able to wear whatever I wanted to wear whenever I wanted to wear it. Hence the
Yeah.
pantyhose. That was my North Star. And so any opportunity or job offer or anything that came into my field of vision that did not fit those things, I immediately cut them out. And so I said yes to things that were surprising, that were not something that I even realized was a job. And then I said no to things that would have been very, very lucrative. But I got to the point where if it didn't fit within those things, someone would have had to pay me $1 million a minute to do it because I was so adamant that my daughter was first and these things were first. And then
Mm.
because I kept that in line, my path took a really interesting twists and turns in opportunities that I'm not creative enough to think of. So I focused on the what, not the how.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you right, then Kaya, you got clear on your priorities
Yes.
and your values. And you then said, if something doesn't fit into this, I got to say no to it. Now, the part that's challenging that I'm sure you worked through was having the courage to say no to those things. Because I think I read somewhere in one of your article written about you, you at a young age were oftentimes compared to your siblings, and you would fall into that people pleasing and wanting to get that approval from people. But this is something different. This is, you put your flag in the ground and you said, this is what it is, and I refuse to adhere to what other people want. How did you work through that internally, that kind of sense of, I want to please people, I want their approval, and saying, no, this is my values, these are my priorities, I'm going to stick to them? How did you work through that?
It comes down to the fact that we only change when we're trying to go away from pain or go toward pleasure. I was in so much pain working at this law firm that I would have gone and delivered pizza. I hated it that much.
Mm,
I was that unhappy. So mine wasn't, okay, I'm going to go do it. And in hindsight, people say to me, oh, you're so successful. You're so smart. You're so this, or you're so that. They weren't there the days that my daughter was sleeping in her bedroom and I was sitting on the couch crying, drinking wine, thinking, what in the hell am I doing? I have this degree. I'm so smart and I'm not working at one of these jobs and I don't have health insurance. They weren't there for those days. They weren't there for the days where I had written up mantras that I had on every wall of my house, and as soon as I woke up in the morning I would get down on my knees and I would just say these mantras over and over and over, and every day I would write out 5 different things that I was going to do, and then I had 5 things for each of those goals. Like, I did so much. It
yeah.
wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, it was scary as hell, especially I was the only person supporting my little girl at the time. She was a toddler. It was terrifying, but the pain of where I was so big. I felt like I didn't have an option but to go find a different way to do life.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I heard once from Anthony DeMello, who's one of my favorite authors and philosophers, and he said he was a psychologist as well as a philosopher and writer, and he said whenever a patient would come to him and say that they're going through some issues, and he would sense that they haven't suffered enough yet, and I know that sounds kind of awful, but he would say this in some of his talks. He's like, I would have to go through this challenge within myself of, do I actually want them to suffer a bit more so that they make that full decision and full commitment, rather than pandering to their suffering and offering some sort of way to numb it, but then they end up not making any real significant change.
Tony Robbins tells the story of when the Vikings would go to war, the commander would burn the boats so that they had no option but to go forward. Because when you have a plan B, your plan A is far less likely to succeed. I had no
Mm,
plan B because I moved firms too many times. When you're a young lawyer, if you move firms, the new firms look at you and say, oh, there's something wrong with her. She's not committed. She's not a good lawyer. They make all of these, plus she's a mom with a kid. That was already a strike against me back then. That was 23 years ago.
yeah.
So all of those things were strikes against me. So I knew I was unemployable. I couldn't go get a job at a firm anymore. So I had to go create a whole different career. And that's what I did. And I read every self-help book that exists. I went to every seminar that I could find. And so none of it was easy. It was a lot of work, a lot of faith, a lot of risks,
Yeah.
and just really staying committed to that North Star.
Could I ask a personal question?
Mhm.
So, how did your family react to this? Because I just know that when I first started to look into doing something different than everybody else, I heard wait, are you crazy? You have this safe job. Why would you want to do that? You went to school for this. You should just stay comfortable and play it safe. And that's what happens in Anita's story, too. Did you have any of that happening in your life?
So my family is probably the greatest curse and the greatest blessing of my life because I was the scapegoat of the family. So there was nothing, and it was a very dysfunctional family, extremely dysfunctional from top down generations. And so what happens in a scapegoating family is they pick the most sensitive person to decide that that's the person, it's their fault. Everything's their fault.
Mm,
So because of that, that's the reason why I was always trying to succeed and excel. So I had the lead in my high school musical. I got my master's degree before I was 22. I went to law school and I was in the top 10 of my class. Like, I was doing all these things to try to make anybody proud of me or notice me. And that backfires because then they hate you even more because when you're
mm,
showing off, then you have a yacht, so I never had anything from them one way or the other. So my this is why I came up with Singularity Circle. Is I realized that on the one hand, I'm telling you the good side of that situation. The
hmm.
bad side is I questioned myself from the
Yeah.
time I was little. I thought something was wrong with me. I self-harmed when I was a teenager. I got into one bad relationship after the other because I kept trying to fix all of those dynamics and thinking, okay, if this guy likes me, then I'm okay, right? And it wasn't until I got to graduate school and law school and different church things that I was involved in, and people actually liked me and saw the value in me, I showed up differently. And that's when I
Mm.
realized how much your circle impacts you. And so I started intentionally creating these circles, these sisterhoods, since I didn't have one. I started creating these sisterhoods of women, mostly women. I've done these with men too, where we come together and we see each other in the best possible light. So even when you're doubting yourself, if you were in my circle and you're writing a book, you're doing a TEDx talk, you're starting a new business, you're trying to double your business, you would be in a circle with 12 other people who hold the vision for you succeeding. That creates
Mm.
exponential growth that you cannot achieve on your own. You can achieve success on your own. But when you have a circle of people who all believe in you, that creates explosive exponential growth.
Wow. I was going to ask you about Singularity Circle, and you started just chatting about it right now. And I've just, so what are some of can you tell me a story or something from your experience in your circles? Like what happened or an influence from that network that led to a result? Do you have a story that you can share?
Oh yeah, I have a million. But first, let me tell you what singularity means. So the word singularity comes from physics and from math. So if you try to divide by zero, if you do it on your calculator right now, it says undefined. Singularity is the word that's used to describe the center of a black hole, where the gravitation or the is infinitely dense. So it means literally the normal rules break down and we have something happen that we've never seen before. In technology, it's being used by Ray Kurzweil, who's a futurist, to describe the time by the year 2045 where machines become smarter than humans. And we have a singularity in technology where there's an explosion of intelligence that's out of control and irreversible. So
Mm.
singularity means infinite. So Singularity Circle is how we as human beings, because we're coming alongside with AI and with all the other nanotechnology and all the technology that's happening, how do we keep our humanity and expand exponentially within ourselves while this is happening? And I've had many circles. The first one I started actually was for single moms, because I was a single mom leaving this law firm, and we traded resources. Like we helped each other babysit. Since I was a lawyer, I helped people with their legal issues. There was another woman in there that was a CPA. She helped everyone with their taxes. Like it just
Mm.
this give and take. But then what I did was, anytime that I was stuck in my life, and this goes to your whole program, getting unstuck. Anytime I was stuck, I would call my circle and I would say, or I would create a circle and say, we need to create a circle. So for example, I wrote a book on Obamacare, back when Obamacare was passed and all the restaurants were freaking out about Obamacare. I wrote a book. While I was doing that, I got together 12 of my friends who are authors, CEOs, attorneys, doctors, professionals who had started businesses. And we got together, and I've put together a curriculum of what we walked through the weekend. And each of us goes through what it is we're working on, and we get advice on our own thing that we're working on. And then we give advice to the other 12 people in the group. And
Yeah.
from that group, one example that was crazy was, we had one woman who was in a franchise, and she was trying to figure out, should I stay in the franchise? It was a real estate franchise. Should I get out of the franchise? And in the circle was me, who was a franchise lawyer for 6 years. We had one of the attorneys from the largest firm in the United States, and we had one of the largest Domino's franchisees in the country. And that was her circle that got to help her, workshop what she should do in the situation. That type of advice would have cost her $100,000. But
Right.
not only got it in that circle, but we create this ongoing support network where we help each other out. We're not just helping each other out with business. I have networks of people that I could call if I needed anything. And it's because of how close we get through these singularity circles.
There's two things that I think we can take from these types of groups. First is what you were just saying about I can learn things that I could have never learned on my own, at least as quickly as I could without this group. And you just don't know what you don't know, right? Like certain things you just don't know yet, and others who have been through what it is that you're going through can help redirect and support you. But there's also this aspect of you were kind of alluding to before. It's like an energy, consciousness, or I don't know what it is. Like it expands the possibilities when
Mhm.
you're surrounding yourself with people like this, because they aren't limited and closed-minded like oftentimes people are who are times within our own families, right? And within our own like friendships. And I think that there's something to that as well. Do you get that as well? Like that sense of just, I don't know, it just opens up your mind to more possibilities.
It's the center of everything that I do and talk about. It's, and I actually got this out so that I could show you. So I'm on a boat, so everything we do is in Yetis and stuff like this. This is my champagne glass. So we're never ever stuck. We're only at the extent of our capacity. So if this is the size of your capacity today, right? And you think that all these things are going on around you, the economy, politics, I can't find a job, I'm stuck in a golden handcuff career, I want to be doing something different. It's never out here that's the problem. It's always the size of your capacity. So if you were able to grow your capacity from this to this, or from this to the size of a swimming pool, or to the size of the Atlantic Ocean, then the question that you have still has room to be there, but there's room for all of this additional wisdom and
Mm.
space for answers, for wisdom, for joy, for opportunities, for possibilities. When I was at this space before I got out of that law firm, in a million years, you could not have convinced me that I would be spending half of my time on a yacht. You couldn't be convinced me that I would ever have a boat or a designer bag. Like my capacity was so small. When I focused on solving the problems, I never solved anything. And this is what we do in Singularity Circle. It's always about expanding the size of your cup. Because when you expand the size of your cup, and when you do it together with more than one person, and it happens exponentially, that's when all of the answers are there. So then you don't have to go and know what the answer is. You don't have to know what the goal is. You just have to focus on expanding your capacity. That's everything.
It's so powerful, and I think there's a few different levers that we could identify that I'm curious to hear you talk a little bit more about. So when I say levers, how it's often just how I symbolize like what is it to do? Like what do I actually pull on? What are the steps that I take? And one of them is expanding your network and having those opportunities to meet with others who can help really give you new perspectives and open up that capacity that you were just describing. I'm curious also to find out, Kaya, what are some of the things that you do for yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you do routinely, or what you find to be the big practices that have helped you to be able to open up that capacity for more? What are some of the things that you do regularly?
Yeah. So the biggest one, the reason I did Singularity Circle is because I think that's the biggest one, is
Right.
because you are a tuning fork, and you are tuning to whoever you're spending time with. So if you're spending time with people who don't take risks, who complain, who are afraid, who are not living the abundance that you want, who believe that they can't ever have a boat, they can't ever have a plane, that's where you're resonating. So that's my number one thing, is I'm super careful about who's in our circle. The second one is I call it help to heal. Is that when you feel stuck, it's a very you're kind of in a echo chamber of your own mind, of hearing yourself, wait, I can't do that, I'm going to fail, this or that. The best way, the fastest way to get unstuck is to help someone else get what you want. That's why I call it help to heal. So the reason that works is because, one, you can't be connected to someone, feeling empathy towards someone, and feel depressed and worried and scared at the same time. Those emotions can't exist at the same time. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you get into connection with someone else and you're helping them, then you get the flood of all those feel good endorphins and brain chemicals in your mind that make you feel unstuck. And then the third thing is, when you're just doing, or the fourth thing I think I'm on, when you're just doing better things for the world, it elevates you, it elevates other people. So that's a big
Yeah.
thing, isn't just helping other people. And this doesn't have to be going to a soup kitchen. It can be calling a friend who you know is having a rough time. It could be buying someone a cup of coffee. Right out here at the marina, there's homeless people that hang out all up and down the on the benches, and we'll just go buy them a sandwich. Like it can be it can be as little as that. So that's a big one. But as far as what else I do personally, I am an addict of self-help books. I listen to several on double speed, several a week. I love Blinkist. I listen to Blinkist every morning that I'm getting ready. I
Yeah.
follow lots of TikToks that are, motivational. I meditate every single day. That expands your capacity. If you don't have the ability to meditate, do a guided meditation. Those are not hard, but getting out of your noise in your mind is like 90% of what can help you expand your capacity.
Yeah. I love it. I am definitely aligned with so much of what you just shared, Kay. I want to get your take on something that I've been sharing a lot lately, and it's a perspective on the idea of helping others and letting that be your focus. And what I've noticed over the years of coaching leaders throughout the world and training a lot of different organizations is that when we're stuck, it's because we're self-absorbed. What I mean is we're thinking so much about us. It's just me, me, me. I'm this victim of circumstance, and I just keep myself in the cycle of thinking about myself. But what you just described is if I then focus on helping someone else, then I'm leaving that space of thinking about me. I'm thinking about service and support, and all of a sudden I'm happier. I elevate my state, and I am more productive. So it's very similar to what you said, just maybe different language.
But it's exactly what you said. And when you do that, the other thing that happens is you go from here to here, and
Yeah,
then you have more space.
yeah,
So that place where you were self-absorbed, like you described, now all of a sudden you have that same problem is still there, but now you have all this space over here. And in this space, now the solution to this comes, the answers come. So
yeah.
that's how powerful helping someone else is to expanding everything that you want to be, do, and have in your life.
And I just was telling the story right before we hopped on our call to someone. It's about space, creating space. I was saying, I told her the story about I was in, I want to say, yeah, it was Punta Cana. I was on vacation with my fiance, and you're on vacation, you're going from the pool to the beach. There's so many different things you're doing. And at one point, we're on the beach and she just falls asleep. Okay. So now I have nothing to do. Like I'm just there. All right. And I just start walking on the beach. And Kaya, I can't tell you the amount of ideas that hit me. It was overwhelming. The amount of just different things that I wanted to do or different passions, like ideas. And I ran to my phone, I'm typing them all down. And what it taught me was this valuable lesson, which is when you're not caught into the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, right? Because that's oftentimes what we're doing. Even on vacation at times, you're like, I'm running from this activity to that activity. When I had absolutely nothing to do, in the way you're describing, it opened up my mind to completely new ideas. It was like that white space opened up for me.
And Jade, that's meditation. Meditation
Yeah.
doesn't have to be sitting quietly. What you did is exactly what I'm talking about. That's meditation. Meditation can be walking on a beach. It can be just breathing in and saying, I'm breathing, I'm on a river that goes out to the ocean right now. I'm breathing in the energy of the ocean, and I'm breathing out the energy of the ocean. It can be I'm breathing in, I live in the mountains, and when I'm in Reno, I'm breathing in the energy of the mountains, I'm breathing out the energy of the mountains. It's when you do those things that displace your monkey mind, that what you did is meditation. That's exactly what you were doing.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think it was, and I'm very much a practitioner of meditation daily. I feel like the days where I don't commit to the practice, I notice a difference mentally. Like I really notice a significant the monkey mind comes back a lot louder on days
Right.
when I'm not doing my practice. So with Anita's story, okay, so let's say she has that understanding. she wants to build something on her own, and she realizes that expanding her network is one way where she could do that. And I talk to a lot of people where they say, "Oh, I know I should do it," and they just don't. They just don't take the steps. And I think oftentimes it's just they don't know how. Like they don't know what they should actually do. So how does one go about that? How does one go about finding those people that could help to elevate them and where they can also in return support that group?
So you can do it formally by joining a mastermind group. That's one way. But before these existed, because I started these 18 years ago, before I had ever even heard of these, I just called some of my closest friends or people colleagues that I knew, and I told them my idea, and not one of them said no. So the first one I said was a single moms. That's the first one where no one said no. The second one was the one where I called the franchisees, the Domino's franchisee. I was a franchise lawyer for Marco's Pizza at the time. The other lawyer, like it was 12 women, really, really powerful. One of them was an executive at Avon. These were powerful, powerful women. And I said, hey, you guys, did you know, from Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says that the most successful people in the world all had a mastermind group. And this is what they did. And this is what I'm proposing. You guys want to all get together for the weekend? 2 weeks later, we were in San Francisco at my friend's law firm's office. And we met for 2 days. We met Friday night to get to know each other. Saturday all day, I walked everyone through this process. And then Sunday we did like the wrap up day, accountability day. And then we met for 4 years, 3 times a year. I just invited people. And to this day, anytime that something's going on in my life where either I'm feeling stuck, or now actually so many of my friends know about this now, they call me and they say, I call it an attention circle. They'll call me and say, hey, I need an attention circle. This is going on in my life. And I'll say, okay, let's get 12 people together. It's not always 12, but that just seems to be a big number. And we just put it together, and we'll just meet for 2 hours even. And formally, the structure of what you do is each person gets an opportunity to say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm intending. And then we go through, and I do a lot of coaching during this, but to give you a really concrete example, there is without breaking confidentiality. Okay, I can give you one without breaking confidentiality. So a friend of mine is an extremely successful mortgage banker, does extremely well. She has a vision to write a book, and she decided to bring this to the group, and she wanted us to envision her at her book signing party. The reason we did the book signing party, not getting the book deal, writing the book, is because all of those are the how. We went all the way to the end, and we envisioned her at the book signing party. And so the questions that we asked her was, okay, where are you? New York City. What are you wearing? I'm wearing this black Gucci dress. I'm wearing, Prada pumps. We're drinking Cristal champagne. And we went through every detail of what she saw, smelled, felt, who was around her, what music was playing. And then we all got quiet, and for 10 minutes just did nothing but visualize that for her. And we go around the group and we do that for each person. And these are women in my neighborhood. These women that I'm talking about right now, she's a mortgage banker, but the rest of the women in the group, 3 of them are retired, and they just love to do this because they want to, I don't care if it's pray or intend or whatever. They just want to pray for their grandkids. One of them was worried about Ukraine. It's whatever it is that they want their 10 minutes to focus on. And we do nothing but visualize that for them for 10 minutes.
This is amazing because I am reading a lot of Neville Goddard. You know Neville?
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just tell this quick story that I just heard this morning from one of his talks. He talked about a friend who would do this practice all the time, where he would visualize, but he would do it for other people.
Yeah.
And somehow he tuned into it, and he just figured out how to really make things happen for others. And the story was, he went to a barber shop, And he first went to the head barber who cut his hair. And after a few weeks, that barber got too busy. So he went to somebody else. And this person was like fourth in line, like not really a manager or anything, just one of the newer barbers. But he loved this guy. They just hit it off. And he just felt like he was such a good person. So what he ended up doing was every night he would visualize that barber owning his own barbershop and having his own place. And he would just do it from his heart. Like he just really wanted something good for this person. And within a few weeks, the head barber decided to sell, handed over the deed to the fourth barber. That barber ended up becoming the owner of that barbershop and then helped to scale it to be one of the most successful barbershops in the area. And you could say that's coincidence. I would say that it's not.
No, there's another book too. The Intention Experiment. Have you read that one?
No, I'm going to write it down.
I have to look up her name because I'm going to tell you about her because I went and studied with her. Kevin, we look up Intention Experiment. Who wrote it? Lynn McTaggart. Okay. Another book, The Intention Experiment by Lynn McTaggart. I actually went to one of her retreats in London, and she writes in her book. She was a journalist. She wasn't into this woo-woo world of any of this stuff, but she wanted to see if there was a way to scientifically prove that in setting intentions worked. So she would get whole football stadiums full of people together and have them focus on a thing like growing algae in a petri dish, or changing the outcomes of crime during a certain hour in a certain city on a certain day. And then she would have these scientists all over the world measuring the results. And they found that they saw scientifically significant results from these experiments that she did all over the world. But one of the things that she found was that when someone is intending for someone else, the impact to them is far greater than when someone's intending for themselves. So for example, me intending for you to be successful brings back, 50-fold success to me in addition to you. So that's a really cool book to check out too.
I'm checking it out for sure. And I am also, so I have a mastermind that I go to in person. We meet once a month. It's a small group. It's just 4 of us. But I'm going to bring this to them. And I'm going to say, let's go around and help each person get very detailed on what it is that they want. And let's work through putting that intention out there for one another. I think that's amazing. And so I want to ask you something I always ask at the end of every one of these conversations, because I like to put our guests into a situation where they meet the person in the story that we were talking about. And I think from what we've talked about a lot, Anita could definitely use this kind of support and understanding and helping her to realize how she can make that idea of wanting to build something on her own a reality. But let's say she was in the crowd at one of your talks. She listened to you and she was deeply inspired. And then after you got off that stage, there was Anita there, and she comes up to you and she tells you her story, Kaya, and what she's going through and how what she really wants and what's holding her back. And you're listening, you acknowledge her, and then you want to evoke something in her. And knowing that you are a coach, you're someone who looks to people and realize they have the answers in them. You may want to just prompt her with a question or a few questions. What would you ask her? What would you ask her to help her to work through this?
First, I would ask her, what did you need most when you were little?
Tell me about that.
The answer to that question holds the key to your life purpose. So often we get caught up in, we want to make money, we want to be known for something, we want to be successful. But the true meaning comes from, there's something that we came into life that we needed and either we didn't get or we wanted to be. And that's where the secret is. And the other thing I would say is, this isn't really a question, this would be the coaching, is when you focus on trying to solve the problem, you're probably never going to solve the problem. Einstein said that you can't solve any problem with the same level of consciousness that or thinking. Einstein said you can't solve any problem with the same level of thinking that got you stuck in the first place. That's not a direct quote, obviously, but the point is, whatever thinking that you are currently at, if you knew how to get out of it, you would have already. So you
Yeah.
have to introduce something new. So just like if you're hungry, you can't stop being hungry by thinking about not being hungry. You have to eat. So if she's stuck and not knowing what to do, just sitting there thinking about being stuck, she's never going to get unstuck. She has to do something different. She has to eat. And so the biggest thing I think of is surrounding yourself with other people, because when you surround yourself with other people and you expand your capacity, then the new ideas come in that there's no room for it when you're at the smaller capacity. There's no room for those answers to come to you. So that's my first question is, what is it you needed? Because that's probably holds a clue to what would fulfill you as an adult and where you can add the most value.
That's so powerful. And for everybody listening, I really hope you internalize that message, especially around the why behind having those people around you. It's the answer, it's the solution. It's not you got to dig more and more and more into the problem and look at it from 100 different angles, because then you're just staying stuck and you're staying in this cycle and you're actually probably deepening the hole. The only way out of the hole, right, is there are people around that are going to help lift you out of it, and it has to be the right people, right? I love this. And everyone, I really recommend check out Kaya's work. It's kayastanley.com. That's where people can find out more about you and the Singularity Circle. And I think that even on your website, all your socials will be there as well, where they can follow your content. I actually saw the post about the jug and the rocks, and you covered that a little bit today in our conversation, but that post was there. I was going to ask you about it, but you talked about it anyway. So you have great content there as well. I highly recommend check out Kaya's work, kayastanley.com. Kaya, thank you so much for taking
Thank you,
time.
Jay. It was really
today.
a lot of fun talking to you.
So much fun. All right, we'll talk again soon.
Thanks.
There was so much synergy I felt in that conversation between myself and Kaya. The things that I've been focusing on lately are what we discussed. It seemed to come together at the perfect time. Sometimes the universe brings us together where the things that I'm really focusing on are something my guest really is passionate about. And I just thought it made for a really wonderful conversation. I'll break down our insights and our actionable takeaways. So the first of 3 insights, focus on the what, not the how. When we get really caught up in the how, what are the steps that we're going to take? We overthink it and we stay stuck. Just know what you want, what's important to you, your values. If it's spending time with family, if it's doing a certain type of work, what is it? And don't look for the answers outside of you. It's already within you. The how will figure itself out in time. Second insight, we're never stuck. We're at the extent of our capacity. When you're trying to solve problems using the same thinking that got you into the problem, you're never going to solve the problem. What is happening is your capacity needs to grow. How you grow that capacity, how you get a bigger cup, if you will, is to surround yourself with people who can offer you new perspectives. Third insight, you are a tuning fork. The energy of the people around you will have an effect on you. So be careful with who you're surrounding yourself with and be sure that that energy is uplifting. Actionable takeaways. The first of 3, have a circle of people around you with a shared vision. People who believe in you. And in creating this network, this community, this team, remember that their intention for you could be even more powerful than the intention that you have for yourself. Second actionable takeaway, have space for creativity. Even better, make space for creativity. Be sure that you are regularly giving yourself that opportunity to be able to expand your thoughts and your perspective through meditation or a meditative quality activity, such as going out for a walk, being in nature, journaling, something. Having that is what will allow for you to be able to, within yourself, recognize some new pathways forward. And then the third actionable takeaway, help others get what they want. When you're out of just thinking about you and what you want, your self-absorption, and you start to think about someone else and serving them, it could create that space for you. That space for creativity could come just because you stop thinking only about you and you start thinking about others. Join us in Friday's episode. I'm going to be talking through how to deal with the negative energy that you might feel you have no choice in being around, whether that's people at work, family, friends. And I'm going to walk you through an analogy I share with my clients often. It's the analogy of the symphony, to help you to make some shifts in perspective on what it's not so binary, in other words, of like either these people are terrible or these people are great. Instead, it offers a way to think about it differently and help you to be able to approach those people with a lot more firmness, sure, if needed, as well as with a lot more compassion and respect. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.